Welcome everybody, welcome back to the channel. We have John Kappler here at Kappler Architects, and we're going to go through some of the do's and the don'ts with designing your own home. John's been in the business, a few years. John, how many years you been with us?
35 years, my own firm.
35 years, all right. So I have to confess, John has designed, I think actually all of the homes that we've built.
I think so.
That's right. So John and I, we go back a little ways, and I really felt that there was no better person to give you really the straight scoop. And that's the best part, because John is also one of our vetted vendors, one of our contractors. He gives you the straight scoop. And, you know, I call it the amazing scroll of paper. He will actually come out. And he brings this, what looks like an oversized piece of toilet paper that's super thin, single ply, I guess, and he'll do just a hand draw of whatever you are working on. I think the last one was an addition that they were doing on the backside and he'll draw that out, and then he'll roll this thing out, and then he does overlays. And it is the coolest thing to watch. If nothing else, you should have John come out and watch how he does this freehand, because stick figures and crayons are not my best friend. All right, so let's do this. So John, you've been practicing for 35 years.
Well, a little longer, but 35 in my own firm.
Yes. 35 in your own firm. All right. You've got a full-on team here.
Full team.
Excellent. And as far as questions that, you know, if somebody comes in from the door, they say, you know what, John, I want to build a house. I want to design my own house. What are the top three things that somebody who's looking at building a home, what are the top three things that they should keep in mind as they're going through this mental process?
Perfect. Well, first, I really appreciate being on George's channel. He does an excellent job, and I'm really honored to be here and share all this with you. So when you're just thinking about building a home for yourself, there's a couple of avenues we need to find out. First, what is your property? Do you have a piece of raw property that has a large forest on it, or is it a lot in a neighborhood? If it's a lot in a neighborhood, are we going to remodel an existing home, or are we going to build a new home? In today's world, a lot of people will remove an older home and replace it with a new home. So there's some different avenues we can take based on what kind of property you have. Let's say, for example, it's an infill lot, just a regular neighborhood lot that's never been built on before. That's the easiest to discuss in terms of the process of how to go through this. So there's several items that we're going to need to gather to get ready to begin the process. Probably going to need a survey of the property that shows us the size, the width, what topography we have, any encumbrances, are there easements, that sort of thing on the property.
Right.
We might need to have a geotechnical engineer look at the soil, not always for stability reasons, but for drainage reasons, how the ground will percolate water so we can take a stormwater management. We might need an arborist. We might need a civil engineer to take care of frontage improvements. So there's certain things in the beginning of the process you're going to need to begin collecting. Now, if you have no idea of what to do, that's the very first question you can ask an architect when you reach out to them. What are the pieces that I need to begin this process? Because your architect really is the leader of the band. They're the ones that kind of help figure out what you need to go through the jurisdictional process and to work with a contractor so you have all the needed information that you need to build your home. Now, so the first step then is to gather all this information.
Okay.
The next step is to figure out what you want. What are your goals? What are your objectives? What's your dream?
Right.
Right? What I want in my home. And we did that together on your house.
Absolutely.
Right? And so I think it's easiest to find out what sort of rooms you think you might want. Just write them down on a piece of paper. And there's no rhyme or reason to this, but it's a way for you to do a brain dump. So you have a way to communicate with somebody, because one of the most important things in dealing with an architect is communicating and matching expectations. You want to make sure that the architect you select to work with you is listening and understanding to your needs, to make sure that they're doing what you want to do, not what they want to do. That's number one. matching those expectations. And you do that through various communication issues and writing down on a piece of paper each room that you want. It could be in your laptop, obviously.
Right.
Do you want a living room or just a formal great room? Do you want one living area, one eating area, and a kitchen area, or do you want like a family room and a formal living room? Those sorts of things are, forks in the road. And so that's one of the first things to do, is just to build a list. We call that a programmatic list, by the way, and then chat with your architect about that. When you meet with your architect in an interview process, and a lot of people will do this on the phone today, you want to find out things like how they'll help you through the process, how they communicate with you. Do they do drawings together extemporaneously right now, as George was talking, in the meetings with you, or do they listen, gather everything up, and then come back sometime later and show you a drawing? Some people like one way, some people the other. When I meet with people, I'm drawing right now so we can get immediate reaction on, do you like this?
Right.
Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? And right
agree.
now we can tell.
Right.
We want to find out about their timeline overall. How long is it going to take? Because you're going to go through this process. Most architects call this phasing. You're going to go through this sort of scoping phase where we understand what the jurisdiction is going to need on your particular property, what consultants we're going to need.
Right.
We're going to talk about the design criteria. We're going to do some preliminary designing as a separate phase, construction documents as a separate phase. Most people call that the blueprints. And we're going to go through permitting. We're going to work with a contractor. So there's lots of steps and phases that we need to go through. Find out what those are with your architect. How do they communicate with you to make sure you're understanding that's going to match your needs? How do they work with contractors? Do they have some contractors they can recommend for you? Will they work with the contractor that you're bringing to the table? Those are very, very important pieces, right?
Right.
The timeline to get all these phases done, the timeline to get probable permitting timelines done, because it varies widely depending on what needs to happen on your property and
Right.
what scope of house it is. Is there a septic? Do we need to go through septic issues? Are there sensitive areas? I mean, the list goes on and on. But to figure all that out, chat with your architect holistically about what they can do, how they can do it, how they'll communicate with you is the first step. How they charge, obviously, that's important as well.
Sure. But wouldn't you say, so I'm going to sidebar you right there. All right. Listen, everybody. Okay. You get what you pay for. Okay. I know you laugh, but we all know this. You get what you pay for. There are architects that we have heard about. Then, it's plan review after plan review because it's mistake after mistake or a change, and just lack of follow through. And it's better to spend a little more than you planned than a little less than you should have, especially with something like this, because everything you've now just been outlining in the first few minutes here, most folks are going, whoa. That was an information dump right there.
It's a lot of information.
Because it's not like yesterday. It's not like hey, I'm going to take my napkin, I'm going to create my house plans, I'm going to submit that to the city, and they're going to stamp my little Denny's napkin.
Yeah.
Because we used to design things on napkins, bring it into you, and you'd say, what is this? And then we would create something like that. Now we have a lot of overlays, like you mentioned. So whether it's in Ville or whether it's out, more of a rural property, or, whatever, the location, or even if it's waterfront, there is nothing simple about building a home today. Is that correct?
Nothing simple about it, and it's not just the architecture. It's not the technology of putting the building together. It's the interlace of all the zoning criteria, the building criteria, the energy criteria, the sensitive area criteria, with the architecture and the building and the planning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
with a lot of pieces.
A lot of pieces. Now, but here's the thing. Is it worth it at the end of the day?
Oh, well, I think so. I absolutely think so.
I
For a lot of reasons.
100% agree.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons.
Oh, you get what you want. You get a lot of things that you would normally not ever get with just a traditional builder, or you're always going to be making changes, which is another question. Is there ever the perfect home?
Oh, never. Never. You know, you can plan and plan and plan, and when things are said and done and completed and you move in and are enjoying your new home, you're always going to say, well, I could have done this maybe a little differently. Okay. Now, it's nice when we get feedback that, oh my word, this is really, really wonderful and we love it.
Right.
But I don't think it's realistic to think that everything is going to be 100% perfect, because life's not.
It's not.
It's just not.
Which then prompts the next question. When people are designing a home, a lot of folks talk about what they want today, what I need today. You know, today I need this, today I need to do that. Here's my lifestyle today. But realistically, you're actually helping people forecast what will you also need, especially, you know, old codgers like me, where, move your table, you know, where I have to look at, you know, what is my lifestyle going to be in 5 or 10 years?
And we may not know.
And we may not know.
We may not know.
If somebody has younger children and they're building these really small bedrooms, you may recommend alternative areas or different places for them as they continue to grow, right? Things like that.
So that's a very, very good point, because when you're talking with your architect, you need to remember their role is to listen and understand to your criteria, use their experience and professional knowledge to give you solutions and options. Here's option 1. Here's option 2. Here are the good things and some complicating things to what you want. Here are some good things and complicating things you want, to give you more information so you can make a better decision for you. It is not so the architect can make decisions for you. And if you're interviewing somebody and you're feeling like that, wrong guy.
Right.
It's the wrong guy.
Yeah.
You need to find somebody that you like and that you trust and you believe in your heart they're going to do everything they can to get you what you want, guide you through the process, and hold your hand and pick you up when you stumble to make sure that you're taken care of, because that's part of the process. It's not like running down to Costco and buying a toaster.
No.
It's just not. Now, you could buy a spec home.
You could.
You could.
Yep. And then spend gobs and gobs of dollars to try and make it into something that it won't ever be in your mind's eye. Yeah.
So it's these trade-offs are there are lots of trade-offs, and if you go into the process with your eyes wide open as to the expectations of what's going to happen and how I maneuver my way through it and how I rely on the team that I put together, that would be you, the client, the team around you that's supporting you, it should be a good experience. It should be a good bit.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But let's talk about the other side. Okay. Now, it is so nice. It's so nice because there's a number of clients that are going to be watching this just because they're going to see John's name and whatnot, and they give you raving reviews. Hence, that's why he's one of our vetted contractors. And the unfortunate side is that there are disadvantages that people run into when working with an architect. You'd mentioned one, that if you're not feeling the kind of that synergy, that hey, this person's listening to me, they're giving me good feedback, they're whatever it is, it's just not clicking per se, right? Right. What are other red flags that a client should keep in mind, or somebody who's looking at building a home should keep in mind as they're going through this journey?
So let's say you've gone through the interview process, you feel good about everything, and then you get 1 or 2 design sets back to you that you're looking at. And the information that's being presented to you isn't anything at all like you've discussed or asked for. And you say to yourself, where did this come from? That's a big red flag.
Right.
Unfortunately, you've already begun the process. And remember, with any team that you put together, if you really feel like you need to terminate the team and move forward, That you need to do what you need to do to get your home the way you want your home. A home is a very special place.
Right.
It's where we raise our families, it's where we live, it's where we want to feel comfortable and enjoy our lives. And in my mind, there's nothing more important than having your environment around you in your home be you. So you are at peace, and as I say, on vacation every day when I go home.
Right.
That's how I want to feel when I go home, like I'm on vacation.
Absolutely, because
Okay.
every time you walk through that front door,
Every time.
it should say welcome home.
Welcome home.
And if it doesn't,
Yeah, it's psychologically, it will bring you down, and it's not good for your life.
right.
And if your team that you thought you put together is not fitting the bill, change teams. And I think the first red flag on that is not getting drawing information back that you discussed, if it's completely different. Now, that's not to say that I listened and understood your criteria.
Right.
You said, let's go that way. We've talked about going that way, and here's some solutions. But I also think going this way works as well. It's a completely different thought process. And how I do that is I want to present more information for you, again, so you can make a better decision, not say, this is what you have to do.
Right.
Okay? There's a big difference in that approach.
I think that's what people really absolutely love when they come out and they meet with you, John. And I think, and I make light of it. I make light of your roll of paper. Sorry, I keep trying to avoid the puppy down here.
We have an office puppy. He wants to be
That's why
by
I keep
George.
looking down. Because you roll it out and you just hand draw so many different ideas. And it is just amazing when people say, hey, how was your meeting with John? Because, we do that follow-up. How was your meeting with John? They're like, oh my gosh, you're right, that guy can draw. And I'm like, isn't that hilarious?
Well,
He's
sometimes it looks like a kindergartner, but I do draw fast. So
it can't be, it's definitely better than mine. But the thing is that they always come away with, oh my gosh, we had such great ideas. I never thought about this. Or, hey, you know what, John said, well, what about this? And oh my gosh, I never even thought about it. Met the same goal, met what their plan was, what their concept was, but a slightly different approach.
Right.
And I think that's one of the great things. You can think outside of the box for people and help to give ideas for them to consider.
Well, I think that's part of our role, because when they are lines on paper, they're easy to move, and you should never feel bashful about working with your design professionals and saying, I don't like that. That's
Right.
not what I want, because you're not going to hurt my feelings anytime a client says, yeah, I don't like that. Well, here's two more ideas. And so you want to plow through the ideas as quickly as possible to get what you want.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a really hard question, John. I can't tell you how often we get this, and because I build homes as a hobby, in which you've been involved with almost all of them. Here's the funny question. So, can somebody just come in and absolutely just draw up a set of plans on their side? There's so many different softwares out there, right? I'm going to draw up my house and I'm going to send that to the city. Okay. Is that something that can be done today? We know it kind of happened before, like 30, 40 years ago. But today, is that realistic? And that's going to be super important for folks here that are hey, I can do it myself, right? I can do this myself. I can design. Hey, I can click and drag and create things, right? Is that realistic in today's world?
So the very short answer is yes, possible.
See, my answer is no.
Yeah.
There's so much.
I know the difficulty scale is off the chart. However, if you have the core competencies to draw plans and you think about design and you have the mindset to negotiate the pathway to get you to the goal line, it technically is possible. All right?
That is a super technical.
It's a technically possible.
Yeah.
You need to heavily rely on your team and increase their services, structural engineer, civil engineer, your team. You're going to have to let them know of what you're going to do. But the idea of solely by yourself negotiating that process,
no.
not in today's world. Certainly not in the Pacific Northwest. I think anywhere in Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, maybe in the outskirts of Montana, a farm, maybe, but not within in a city limit. There's just no way possible.
Right.
You still have to build that team around you. And heavily rely on them, but it is a mountain of work, and I can't say whether I recommend it or don't recommend it. I can simply say it is a mountain of work.
So,
right?
I totally agree. One of the things that we recommend to folks is to take a piece of paper and, like you were saying, jot down what rooms you want, what is your lifestyle, what do you want to do, and then what is a general kind of idea of what you think a house would be that would fit your needs, and then come to John and let him take a look at some concepts, and then it's like a plant, right? We plant the seed, okay, and it germinates a little bit, and then you get it to grow. And it hopefully evolves into that beautiful rose. I love roses. Evolves into that beautiful rose that you're looking for at the end of the day. And yes, there's a lot that is involved. There's a lot of challenges, especially today, but it's completely doable. You just need the right team to help you walk through that process. Let's talk about process.
Okay.
Timelines. A lot of folks are like, oh, I can build a house. It should be done in a couple of months. Get my permits in. That takes what the city about? What is it? 4 days? 4 days to get my permits in. And engineer structure. That's what? A couple hours. It's a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about timelines.
I think Home and Garden TV has made it complicated for many people to understand the true process you need to go through with a jurisdiction to obtain a building permit and get a home built.
Yes,
okay,
I agree.
So the pieces of the process are the goal gathering, the dream building of what you want your home to be. You might need help from an architect, because we help with that sort of thing, but that's one thing. The second thing is the complete design and construction drawing process from zero to done, getting your idea of the home conceived, drawn, finished, and ready to submit for permit. The next piece is the actual jurisdictional permitting process. That is a process. It is not submit and get your permit. It is a process, because people at the jurisdiction review this, and every person in every jurisdiction has a little different slant on something, and so in today's world, it's become a process. So there's a permitting process.
Right.
Somewhere in that, you're probably going to want to have the bidding process happen with the contractor. That's another separate silo of things that have to happen.
Right.
And then we have to construct it. The construction process in today's world, especially since COVID and the explosion of the amount of work that everyone is doing today,
right,
has not quite doubled, but almost. At least 60-70% lengthened, simply because of the availability of people to do work, the availability of materials to install work, raw materials like concrete and framing, as well as finished materials like carpet and appliances. Right. So the lead time on all of that has expanded, and now we've got to coordinate the disciplines of when one person finishes and the next person's supposed to start. We've got to get all those coordinated, and there's so much work today. There's gaps often.
But it used to be 3 weeks to get a set of cabinets. We're minimum 12 weeks now for cabinets.
Exactly.
And to stack your subs and to make sure that you have everything in play, with a construction schedule, super difficult. And that's one of the things that you can help with.
I would say that most people look at that as a maddening process. Why does this take so long? And our industry is a strange industry, and it takes a very long time today.
It does. Yep. And it has become more and more technical. All right. So at the end of the day, even though there's a lot of challenges, even though there's a lot of what I would consider mental exhaustion, as you really got to dig deep on ideas and be open to alternatives, not only budget-wise, but maybe physical constraints or code restraints, but finding alternative ways to get there.
Or materials. We simply can't get for another 8 months the tile that you wanted in your bathroom. We should pick another tile.
Right. Yes.
It's something that simple.
Totally agree, and we run into that, well, unfortunately, quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
So, any parting words for folks that are looking at or considering, hey, I want to build a home?
I do. Years ago, I developed a little homework exercise for people, and I'll explain that. It's a way that I think to help you keep organized and be able to do good brain dumps with the team that you're working with. Architects, builders, interior designers, your entire team. And I'm going to suggest you get a banker's box, a regular cardboard box with a lid. In that box, we're going to put 3 things. The first thing is a pad of paper or your laptop. And on each page, write the name of a room you might want in your home. Living room or great room, a kitchen, an office, 4 bedrooms, 2 of them suite bedrooms, 1 a continental, which is a doorway from the bedroom and the hallway. Maybe you want a bonus room. Does the bonus room want to be open? Whatever. And in each room that you put on a piece of paper, make a bullet point list below. Let's pick the dining room. In the dining room, you might say, I want a large table for 8 chairs out all the time that expands to 12 people. What that tells me, there's got to be a place for those chairs to be when the table's not expanded. Where do we put them?
Exactly.
Okay. Where do the leaves go? Not just the room to expand the table, but the stuff that goes with it.
Right.
I want all hardwood floors. I want sceneable lighting. That's lighting that can do different lights do different tasks to create a scene. I might want to use my laptop here to work, and I want to be super fast and plug into the wall, so I need a plug-in in the wall for my laptop. I want windows that come down to the floor. No, scratch that 18 inches off the floor. The scratch-offs are as important as what you write down because it tells me how you're thinking about the process.
Right. What's a no-go and what's a go?
What's a no-go and what's a go.
Right.
Now, when you're talking with your team, you can show this list. But let's say the electrician calls and says, we're going to meet tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and we're going to walk through your house to make sure everything is right. You have your list in front of you and you get into the dining room and you go, sceneable light, check. I need a plug for my computer because I might want to plug it in so it's faster than the wireless.
Right.
Let's put a plug right here. You won't forget things.
Right.
You won't forget things during the design process. You won't forget things during the construction process. This is a living, breathing document. Okay, second thing we're going to put in the box, several of your favorite magazines or your Pinterest account or your Houzz account. Right. For those that don't know, Houzz, H-O-U-Z-Z, is the same as Pinterest specifically for housing. You're just going to have many pictures inside, outside of doorways, of kitchens, of rooms, of maybe furniture, maybe plants, just things that you like that make your heart feel good about the environment you want to be in. Right. You're going to share that with your team. And so I call that, when we look at your pictures, of getting your color palette. So when I paint for you, I use your colors, not mine. Okay? Also, if you can hold up a picture for your contractor and say, if my fireplace looks exactly like this photograph, we've matched expectations and I'm happy.
Hey, picture's worth 1,000 words.
And we don't have to draw it.
Right.
Saves you money. Okay? So that's the second thing, is a bunch of photographs. The third thing, and this is why it's a box, you're going to start collecting pieces of cabinet, pieces of countertop, stone, paint chips, brochures on toilets, brochures on heated towel bars, on heated floor controls. You're going to collect all this stuff, throw it in the box. Now, we've had clients build books and just put it in the box.
Right. It's simple. Keep it in
and
one
when
place.
you meet with your team, you can throw it out on the table and this is my house. And
Right.
we'll get it. We'll get it. right?
And it's easier.
And it's easier.
Right.
And this is why it's in a box with a lid. This process is frustrating, and you have a family and you want to live your life. There are times you need to put the lid on the box, shove it under the bed for a few days, forget about your home planning process, live your life, go back a little later, pull the box out, take the lid off, and you can get going again.
Right.
Okay? And that's the best advice to give people. Sometimes give yourself a break.
That's right. And give yourself plenty of time. Because it takes time. Right. This isn't, it's not like going down the street and buying a computer off the shelf. Okay. Those are called spec build homes, and there's a reason that you're watching this video, because you're looking for something more personal. And that's what this is about.
This is all about you, personally about you.
Right on.
That's what it's about.
John, thank you very much. Absolutely appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you subscribe and like. John's information will be down below. This will also be with his contact information on the vetted page. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. In the meantime, John, thank you again for coming on the show. We will see you guys on the next video. Take care.
Have a great day.